Once upon a time in New York City, there was a young filmmaker called Harry. Like many entrepreneurs, Harry was in the middle of his pre-success phase, and like many entrepreneurs, he worried that this phase would never end. With his savings dwindling, Harry decided that he would make one last heroic effort to make it, or forget his dreams and look for a job. Harry decided to enter a prestigious short film competition, aiming to win or at least place. There was just one small problem with Harry's plan. He couldn't think of a topic for the film. Whatever the filmmaking equivalent of writer's block is, Harry had a bad case of it. So in search of inspiration, Harry spent his days roaming the city, searching for quirky places or unusual situations to inspire a story. But after a few weeks, inspiration had not struck, and the closing date for the competition was looming closer. One day, Harry was wandering around an unfamiliar neighbourhood when, dejected, hungry, and footsore, he walked into a local cafe. As he entered, a well-dressed older man came out carrying his takeaway coffee, and between opening the door and a sudden gust of wind, the older man lost his balance and bumped into Harry. As the older man profusely apologised, Harry recognised him as an award-winning filmmaker. Harry excitedly introduced himself as an admirer of his work, and they moved away from the door to chat. The filmmaker was so charming and affable that Harry found himself revealing his frustration over his inability to think of a film topic. The filmmaker listened kindly, but started to become restless, hinting that he needed to be on his way. Harry finally paused to breathe as another gust of wind tugged at the filmmaker's blazer. "Why don't you make your movie about the wind?" The filmmaker smiled before he walked away. The wind? Harry's initial confusion evolved into excitement. After all, the wind was universal. Everyone in the world experienced it. It didn't need translation. What about a silent film? He mused. What if I follow the wind for a day and base my creation on that? A week later, Harry's frustration had doubled. Following the wind wasn't working because it was so unpredictable. He tried following the wind as it blew leaves along the street, a plastic bag flying in the wind. But whatever Harry filmed, the footage looked choppy and boring. Desperate for wisdom, Harry returned to the cafe in the hopes of bumping into the filmmaker again. Harry was in luck, and the filmmaker didn't seem to mind when Harry asked if he could join him for coffee. To Harry's disappointment, the filmmaker laughed at Harry's lament. "My dear Harry, it's not the wind that matters. It's never the topic of the film that matters. It's about how the wind makes people feel. That's your film. The power of our emotions is like the wind, invisible except for the impact it has on ourselves and others." Or as Maya Angelou elegantly said, "People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." Our emotions can lift us up to overcome any challenge. It's how you feel about yourself and how you make others feel that shapes your life and creates your legacy. Feeling forwards.